I welcome you to the Messiah Revelation channel, which is a prophetic channel dedicated to the end times. We are in the end times. We are in a time when the final trumpet of heaven has sounded based upon Revelation. The events in chapter 11 of the book of Revelation are unfolding. The trumpets are sounding. The final trumpet of heaven has sounded. And as a result, things are happening in rapid fashion. And the book of Revelation is unfolding before our eyes with the actual wars going on in the world. We are experiencing unprecedented warfare and tension in the global system. And these are all signs of the end. They are signs predicted in the Bible in Matthew 24. And so we are looking at what is happening, particularly beginning with 10/7/2023, the Gaza war in Israel, and the implications for the Gaza war. They are about to unleash, the kings of the earth are about to unleash. And you watch the video I did where I talk about the kings of the earth preparing to go to war, preparing for Armageddon. And I urge you to prepare for your own salvation. And today in this video, we are focusing on a time for war and a time for peace. You heard what Benjamin Netanyahu said, the Prime Minister of Israel. He made a speech and he said there's time for peace and a time for war, and this is a time for war. He said it, and I believe he was quoting the Bible, the book of Ecclesiastes, that says there's time for everything, there's time for every season, there's time for war, and there's time for peace. Benjamin Netanyahu, PM, Prime Minister for Israel, is saying this time is not a time for peace, it's time for war. And so you can see the time that we are in. It's a statement made by an end-time player, a leader of Israel, the 1948 state, is one of the end-time players. And so when he makes a statement, it has end-time implication. And the Prime Minister said, there's time for peace and there is time for war, but this time it is time for war, and so you will not accept any ceasefire. He said it on the eve of the second stage of the war. They are talking about the second stage of the war in Gaza. I don't know how many stages they will go, but at least now they are in the second stage. And Bibi Netanyahu says this is not time for peace, time for war. And so everywhere is war. I remember a reggae song. Everybody is talking about war. Everywhere is war. War in Gaza. And the war has extended to American bases overseas. And America has sent aircraft carriers in the Mediterranean in response to the war in Gaza, and there is a potential for escalation of the war. Now, when they talk about peace, don't listen to them because they are talking about war. But for Netanyahu, he is very clear. He's very sincere, at least, because he has made it known to the world that he's not ready for peace. It's time for war. But there are other powers that we need to watch. And these powers are the Ezekiel powers, as we are aware. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 38 and chapter 39, talks about an event that will happen in the last days when a coalition of nations will invade the land of Israel. And these nations include Russia and Turkey and Iran. And so at the time of making this video, we need to look at these nations, the nations that I call the Ezekiel powers. And we will focus on Turkey and Iran. So the Ezekiel prophecy has not been fulfilled, and nobody can tell us when it will be fulfilled, but the signs are clear. I've talked about the Ezekiel war before, and somebody made a comment that the Ezekiel war will come when the true Israelites are occupying the land. And at this time, the true Israelites are scattered all over the world. And so the Ezekiel war will not happen. The Ezekiel war will not happen until the true Israelites are occupying the land. Do I believe in that statement? I don't believe in that statement because it is only God who knows the time of the war, and we can speculate, but we will not be able to tell the exact time of the war. For those who say the Hebrew scattered over the world should be in the land before the Ezekiel war comes in, you have to remember that the second exodus of the Hebrews will come in the last days, and the person who will gather the scattered of the tribe of Jacob is the Messiah, the root of Jesse. And I always cite Isaiah 11:11 as the biblical reference. And if the Messiah will come in the last days to gather the Hebrews, the Negroes who are scattered over the world, it means that they will not technically be in the land. And so, are you saying that the Ezekiel war will come after the Hebrews are on the land, after the Messiah has come and gathered the Hebrews to the land? You have to remember that God will protect the land that he has given to the Israelites, regardless of who is occupying the land now. Regardless of whose army is occupying the land, regardless of the claim that they are making, because the land is a land of God, created by God. Who created the world? It is God who created the world. Who created the universe? Is God. Does God have the right to take land? Yes, he created it. Who did God give the land to? He gave it to Abraham and his descendants. And who are the descendants of Abraham? Who are the children of Jacob? Your fake history books will not tell you the truth, and your pastors don't know that by revelation, the children of Jacob are still scattered all over the world. And the God of the universe will protect the land. And I'm sure that the Ezekiel Powers, when they go to the land, it doesn't matter who occupies the land. They'll go to the land, and the land will be protected regardless of who is on it. Of course, you know that the Messiah is aware that in the end of times, some people will be occupying the land, and they will not be the true heirs of the land. Those who call themselves they are Jews or they are Hebrews, but they are not, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. And so my assessment is that the Ezekiel war can come. Of course, it will involve the land of Israel, the true Israel, and they will go there. And God has an obligation to protect the land until he delivers the land, the deed of the land, to the true Hebrews. And I believe the true Hebrews. It's not that I believe, I know by revelation that the true Hebrews are scattered over the world. You see glimpses of the Ezekiel war. You see the Ezekiel powers align themselves, and it's very interesting to see the posture of Turkey. So let's look at Turkey. Turkey is one of the Ezekiel powers, and you lately have watched what the president of Turkey is saying. Erdogan, the president of Turkey, is warning Israel that Turkey will enter the war. Turkey will enter Gaza to protect the people in Gaza. He is on the side of the Palestinians. And Turkey, as an Ezekiel power, actually is also claiming leadership in the Islamic Caliphate that will have Turkey at the center. And so it will be in the interest of Turkey to unite Muslims, both Shiites and Sunnis, over the world. And a common enemy will be a galvanizing force. And so Israel will be a galvanizing force, a cement that will be used to weld the Muslims together. And you are also aware that Turkey is facing economic problems. And so the leader of Turkey will find this as an opportune time to prop up his political credentials and credibility in the Muslim world. And Turkey is a member of NATO and has a formidable military force. And Turkey's warships are around. They are doing a celebration, but at least it's a display of their naval capabilities. And they have boldly threatened to enter the war, particularly if Israel does not engage in a ceasefire. The war rhetoric has increased in Turkey, demonstrations going on in Turkey in support of the Palestinians. What about Iran? Iran is also mentioned. Iran, Persia is mentioned as one of the Ezekiel Powers. And Iran is fingered in the war. Um, Iran's enemies are saying that Iran is supporting proxies, Hamas, the Houthis in Yemen, and Hezbollah in Lebanon. And Iran has the intention of supporting these forces to weaken Israel. Iran has made statements. You remember since the days of the President Ahmadinejad, they have always had their policies and their intentions clear towards Israel, political Israel, the Jewish state, the 1948 state. And I believe that the Iranian nuclear project is a means of deterrence against Israel, and nobody would doubt that Iran will use the weapon at the time, because they have made it clear that they have an intention of wiping Israel from the face of the earth. They've said it, and you have to assess a nation based upon two factors. Number one, their capabilities, and two, their intentions. The Iranians have made their intentions very clear, and their capabilities are also very clear. They are on the verge of having a nuclear weapon. I believe they have a nuclear weapon already. They have advanced in missile technology, and Iran is one of the best nations when it comes to drones. They even had the audacity to supply drones to Russia in the fight in Ukraine. Iran, I believe, could also be able to mount an EMP attack on her enemies, electromagnetic pulse attack. I believe Iran has that capability. And so Iran is not the old Iran that we knew. It has power projection capabilities, and is an end time player, at least by Ezekiel 38 and 39 being one of the nations mentioned by the prophet Ezekiel, the nations that will take part in the end time invasion of Israel. And so anytime you see Iran in the news, particularly at a time like this, you have to look out to prophecy and the possibility of prophecy being fulfilled, and the times that we are in perilous times. Israel has plans to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. They have done simulations for a long time, preparing on an operation to strike Iranian nuclear facilities. Iran is aware of that, and they also have protected themselves, and they have alliance with Russia, providing them with defensive systems in anticipation for a possible strike on Iranian nuclear facilities. So tension is going on, is spreading. Tension between Iran and Israel, tension between the Muslim world and Israel, and also tension between United States and Iran. When we come to the tension between America and the Muslim nations, Are the tension political? Yes. Are the tension economic? Yes. Because the bottom line is oil, and the Middle East is a strategic area, being the location of oil resources in the world, and the United States will do everything possible to protect her oil interests. Because after all, it is that oil that gives American global power, the petro dollar power. And I believe that the United States will go to war with the intent to possess the oil um, by force and by any means necessary. So the tension between America and the Muslim world is political and economic. But you also have to remember it's also spiritual. It's spiritual. I read a book by Peter Levender. He's an American, and the title of the book is called Sinister Forces. They are 3-volume books. And he made a point that one of the reasons that America is at war with the Muslim world is that there's a secret spiritual war, a secret war between satanic forces in America, satanic forces that control American politics, and satanic forces that also control the Muslim world. And these forces are at loggerheads and they fight. You have to remember that all that glitters is not gold. They are spiritual forces. After all, the American leaders, most of the American presidents have been members of secret occult societies. Whether you're talking about Skull and Bones, you're talking about the Freemason. And so you remember the time when President Bush, a member of the Skull and Bones, initiated a war in the Middle East using a false flag, saying that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. You remember the time. You remember Colin Powell. He was fooled. He was a Negro who was fooled. He was the defense secretary at that time, and he was fooled. He was fooled because he thought there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. But later on, he knew that there was nothing like that. And meanwhile, America had used that as a false flag to invade Iraq, and you knew that Saddam Hussein was later executed. Peter Levender talks about sinister forces that control the commanders in chief in America, and that lead them to go to war to satisfy the demands of the gods that they worship. When I say gods, small g, Luciferian forces that control international politics. After all, the world as we know is owned by Satan, and the Messiah himself admitted it. He admitted it in John 30, John 14:30. The prince of this world is Lucifer. Lucifer is the prince of this world, and he has allotted and allocated powers to his agents over the world, and they fight his fights. And the agents of Lucifer collaborate with the military in many countries to establish laboratories to produce weapons of war. and the secrets of the UFOs, fallen angels, congressional hearings about UFOs and all those things are testament to the fact that there are sinister forces in America. And so when we are looking at the current crisis going on in the Middle East, we should not also forget that there are sinister forces behind. We are in the spiritual warfare, and Ephesians 6:12 talks about a fight. We do not wrestle with flesh and blood. We will wrestle with principalities and powers. We wrestle with spiritual wickedness that sit in high places, and the high places include the White House in Washington, D.C., and the high places include the palaces of presidents and prime ministers. And these are the people who have their fingers on the trigger. They have their fingers on the trigger, and when they make a decision, the weapons will be released, whether they are Tomahawk cruise missiles, whether they are drones. And when they make a decisions, children die and leaders are assassinated. It's just a command from one person sitting in high places who is doing the bidding for his father, Lucifer, who is the prince of this world. Lucifer will gather the kings of the earth to wage a final battle against the Prince of Peace, Yeshua, Jesus, who is coming to rule the world, is coming to sit on the throne of his father David, and the Lord has already chosen Jerusalem as his place. And for his name's sake, the Lord will protect Jerusalem. One of the members made a comment that the Lord will not protect Jerusalem for the sake of Revelation 2.9 people. And if you don't understand what Revelation 2.9 people means, you have to read Revelation 2 verse 9, Revelation 3 verse 9. The Messiah said that in the last days, and this is one of the signs of the last days, there are some people who call themselves Jews. They are not, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. There are people who call themselves Hebrews. They are not, but they are of the synagogue of Satan. And so the Lord will defend Jerusalem because he has chosen the city to be his own, and eviction notices will be going out very soon, and people will be evicted from the land. The Lord will give the land to the true heirs of the land, those who are fit by the counsel of God to inhabit the land will inhabit the land. It is not those who are fighting for the land. It is not those who are stealing the land. It is not those who are defiling the land with LGBT culture. The Lord will give the land to his chosen people, and he has a list of what his chosen people are. And what is going on is part of the spiritual warfare. Occult powers are at work. After all, many of the leaders who rule the world are members of secret organizations, secret societies, and I will repeat, occult societies, and they are fighting an occult war. They are fighting a spiritual war, a Luciferian war, based upon an agenda that are hatched in secret societies all over the world, and they have an agenda. Their agenda is to install the Antichrist, and they are preparing for war to set the stage for the Antichrist. So we see the Ezekiel Powers, Turkey, and Iran, and of course we should not also forget Israel. And when we talk about Israel, we have to be very discerning. And the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, is quoting Ecclesiastes. There's time for peace and there's time for war, and he's saying that this is time for war. It means that there wouldn't be any ceasefire, and America is supporting no ceasefire. It's supporting the mantra that there will be no ceasefire. It means that war will continue, at least for the time being. Things will deteriorate, or things can deteriorate, and we'll be talking about deterioration that will come in the twinkle of an eye. Within the twinkle of an eye, deterioration can come. When the Lord decides that there's no longer time, things will deteriorate in a rapid succession. And so even though they may engage in ceasefire, I'm not saying they will engage in ceasefire. Even if they engage in ceasefire, that means that there is peace, because the Bible is very clear that when they talk peace, then sudden destruction will come. And so even when there's ceasefire in the 10-7 war in Gaza, that doesn't mean that there will be peace. There wouldn't be peace. As a result of 10-7 event, there are demonstrations in Lebanon. The citizens are calling for the annulment of the peace treaty between Lebanon and Israel. There are drone strikes in Egypt. Egyptian army are on alert. Saudi Arabia is not happy about whatever is happening in Gaza, and you see demonstrations going on over the world, including United States. My heart goes for the innocent victims, those who are used as pawns. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe unto those who call good evil, and woe unto those who call evil good." Murder is not good. Hatred is not good. And genocide is not good. And targeting anybody on account of their race or religion is not good. Attacking them is not good. Even when somebody engages in a lifestyle that you don't agree with, you should not attack him. You should not attack her. You cannot kill that person. You cannot hate somebody. You cannot kill. You cannot destroy them. But this is what is happening now in the world that we are in. It appears that the kings of the earth are preparing for Armageddon. And all of a sudden you see American warships and aircraft carriers surrounding the Middle East and surrounding Iran and other parts of the Middle East. And recently, there was a propaganda, and the propaganda is that America has a weapon, and that is 24 times as deadlier 24 times as harmful, 20, 24 times more harmful than the bomb that was used to destroy Hiroshima and Nagasaki. 24 times deadly. And that information just came out, and probably is a warning. They want to send a message to quote unquote the enemies of America. We are living in a world where the leaders who have their finger on the trigger, they are war maniacs, and they are warmongers, and they are satanic. They are not for peace, they are for war. And the war that they instigate are instigated for political gains, and in some cases, the wars are for money. There are merchants of war who benefit from all these wars going on. And so Donald Trump was very happy when he talked about MOAB, MOAB, mother of all bombs, mother of all bombs. And I believe America dropped the bomb on Afghanistan, and Trump was very happy that America dropped the mother of all bombs on Afghanistan. And when the fortunes are turned and the bombs come on Americans, then they will learn sense, and they will know how it feels when you get a bomb. And so the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were dropped on people whose skin color is different from Americans. And now when they have a bomb more deadly than the one they dropped on the Japanese, the bomb will be dropped on people whose skin color will be different from the Americans. And they will sit in a room. The merchants of war and the warmongers, they will sit in the Oval Office and watch a video, and they will do damage assessment. They will be assessing the damage that their bomb, mother of all bombs, the damage that their bombs will inflict on innocent people and children. You have to remember that in the last days, when it comes to the destruction of America, American friends, they will sit afar and they will see the smoke coming from the torment of America. How the Lord pays America. How the Lord remembers the iniquities that America has committed to the world. People will watch the smoke of her torment from afar. You can read the book of Revelation chapter 18 to see what will be done to Babylon, United States. And that is leading the war in the Middle East. That is funding the war. That is engaging in military activities, having more military bases all over the world. They stand with Israel, that is fine. Some people stand with Palestine, that is fine. But if you are watching this video, you should stand with the Lord. You should not stand with Palestine. You should not stand with Israel. You stand with the Lord. And if you stand with the Lord, you have to condemn evil, which they say is good, and you have to condemn anything that is not of God, and you have to stand on the promises of God. And the promise of God is clear that those who rely on the name of Yeshua, you will be saved. Acts of Apostles, chapter 4, verse 12, say there's no name in heaven or on earth through which you can get salvation except the name of Yeshua, the Lord our Savior. It's not standing with Palestine that will give you salvation. It's not standing with Israel that will give you salvation. It's standing on the side of God who created the universe. It's pledging your allegiance to the throne of the Most High. It's not pledging your allegiance to a nation that recruits you to fight a war, a satanic war, a war that is meant to satisfy the greed and the unsatiable appetite of warmongers. You should not stand with a leader who initiates a war to improve his political polls in elections. This is the message for you as you prepare for your own salvation as the warmongers put their fingers on the trigger, preparing for Armageddon. You should prepare for your own salvation by accepting the gospel and believing in the atonement that was given to us through the blood of Yeshua, Jesus Christ, who is coming to rule the world as our Savior and as our Redeemer. I'm leaving the links to the video in the description box. My email address is raptureafrica@yahoo.com in small letters. Subscribe to the channel, share the video to all the four corners of the earth. Thank you.